It's martini time again. I'm so excited to be here because we have I always feel like I have something interesting to talk about it because it interests me. And during the day, an idea comes, I write something on Facebook or something happens in the news, and it begins to just germinate like a seed idea that just keeps growing ideas, and I write about it and I want to talk about it, and I got to get it out. So what interested me today was the removal of Bill O'Reilly from his spot on Fox News. I don't know how many years he was there, but it was many. And his spot was secure like Rush Limbaugh's spot is secure. And so I began to wonder, and I've been writing about and talking about this center, fixing the center of ourself and fixing, we lose center and what that's like, and we restore center. We lose paradise and we restore paradise. We're thrown out of the Garden of Eden and we return to the garden. And it's all about a spot. And one of the greatest things about the Big Bang is that it's about Sheldon's spot. As you know, he is not comfortable unless he is in his spot. But this spot is where everything is integrated. It's the right light, the right angle, the right air. Everything is right in that spot. So there's only one unique spot. You can't find it anywhere else. It's a unique spot where he is, I'm back in my center. I'm back in myself, in this spot. But Sheldon's spot is located in space and time. In other words, it's on the sofa. So he has to be in a place to be in his spot. Like we have to be in the church if the church is our spot. Or we have to be in our home if the home is our spot, you see. So it is in our home that everything is just right. It's the porridge of Goldilocks. Not too hot, not too cold, just right, you see. So our spot is just right. And if anything is off a little bit, we quickly fix it, like a bird getting rid of a bent twig or something, So animals have their spot. I have a mockingbird out here in my front yard, sings all day long because he's in his spot. And you can hear other birds singing around the neighborhood. Everyone is in their spot. And they sing when they're in their spot. That's where the song comes from. So Bill O'Reilly was in his spot. And on Fox News. And whether you like him or not, when he was in his spot, he held that spot. And it was almost like a bullfighter. So the bullfighter is in a spot. The bull ring is a big spot. And the bullfighter stands in the middle. And the bull comes in. Now the bull's job is to knock the matador off his spot. And the matador's job is to get the bull to transfer his power to his spot. Right? The bullfighter's spot is symbolically by the red flag. So the bull can't hit the matador because he is transfixed on the flag, not the flag, but the cape, you see? So the bull has lost his spot because he gave it to the cape. And he can't he can't knock the bullfighter off because he goes after the cape, which is kind of like a false idol. He's not going for the matador, he's going for the false matador. So he's given up his spot to the matador, who has deflected it by the cape, you see. And this enrages the bull, but it exhausts the bull. So in the end, the matador kills the bull. Okay, once in a while, a bull doesn't go for the false idol, and he gets the matador and knocks him off the spot. So Bill O'Reilly was like the matador, and all his guests whether he was in an interview somewhere else or writing a book or whatever he was doing, he was in his spot. And all the other bulls would come and try to knock him off his spot, but they never could. You couldn't knock Bill Riley off of his spot. When he was in that spot, he was in an immovable spot, you see, in command. Everybody had to, like the hub of a wheel, so all the spokes had to bow to the center, and he maintained that center. Now he's been deposed. The king is dead. Long live the new king. Right. And Rush Limbaugh's like that. Rush Limbaugh he's kind of like a radio Bill Riley. So these two pillars of the Republican mythology have been in power for some time and had quite an influence because they personify the livable spot. That is the idea that a human being can embody this spot, you see, and they become charismatic. See, charisma is when you have a spot that everything else flows into. So everyone gives their energy to the spot, to the charisma. It's their surrendering of their spot to the center that makes the center and the person who embodies the center charismatic. Charisma is energy that is invested in a center. So it's very, this is and then the center can have a symbol. In Christianity, the spot is symbolized by the cross. So if you have a cross, you see, that is the symbol for the immovable spot of Christianity occupied by Christ, who is God, you see. So this is a symbol, a portable symbol of the immovable spot, the center of the world, the center of the universe, you see, which is the spot of Christianity. And of course, other religions, so the immovable spot of Buddhism would be the Buddha, and then the immovable spot of Hinduism would be Shiva, and the immovable spot of Islam would be Mecca. So every religion has, in Avatar, the immovable spot was the home tree. So or the flag. If you're in an army, the immovable spot is the flag. So when you go into battle, the flag rallies the troops. If the flag falls, the army could fall. So it was the most honorable job to be given the flag, even though you're going to be shot. You see. So as long as the flag's falling, the troops can rally around the flag. If the flag moves forward, the troops move forward. If the flags fall, the troops fall in disarray because the center's lost. So the thing, you don't want to lose the center when your center is personified by an individual. This is why the nation went into such a trauma when JFK was shot, because somebody shot the center. That was like the World Towers. The World Towers were a center of New York, the tallest building in New York, the two twin towers, you see. And when they came down, that was the loss of center. And when Kennedy was shot, that was a loss of center, a loss of power, a loss of integration, a loss of who am I? Everything's falling apart, you see. The center holds everything in place, like the hub of a wheel holds the spokes in place. Take away the hub, the spokes just fall apart, and the wheel doesn't work. So this idea of the center is very important. And the Republican Party has been basically a party of the center. Patriotism, God, the presidency, number one, the center. So the Republican Party has been basically the mythology of the center. And the Democratic Party has been basically the mythology of the whole. So the Democratic Party is inclusive. We want to include everybody. And the Republican Party is the party of the number one, which means you need to exclude the exclusion of those who are not patriotic, who are not American. You see, just this sense that the Catholicism would exclude anybody who has not a Catholic. So the idea of the center of that point, you see, that center, is that it is maintained by purity and eliminating that which is not the center, and the idea of the inclusion of including the whole would be bringing everybody in, you see. And basically this is the difference between the male and female principle. The male principle is a phallic principle, number one. And so you have to obey the center. This is the law. So there's an obedience and a surrender to the center. But then that would be excluding anybody who doesn't obey and doesn't bow to the center. So, but the female principle is the mother principle, which includes all my children, you see, or well, all my children are within the circle. I don't exclude anybody. It's welcoming all, and that's an American principle. And the American principle is also the center. The Washington Monument is the center, and the presidency is the center, personified by the person who is elected, the king. And every 4 years or 8 years, we kill the king and a new king arrives. We don't kill him physically, we kill him politically. Kick him out, bring in a new one. So we're constantly renewing the center so it's fresh. And we renew the center so it's vital. It doesn't grow old. The center doesn't grow old in America and get an old beard, you know, and go decrepit, you know. Stays in power for 30, 40 years, you see. The center is renewed every 4, 8 years. So this is a renewal of the center. So I thought it was interesting too about Trump, why he's causing so much consternation, is because he refuses to surrender to the office. All of the idea of the office of the presidency is that this is a power center that is there no matter what individual occupies it. But the individual who is elected or nominated or picked to occupy that center agrees to sacrifice their personality, their personal power, for the power of the presidency. So there is a sacrifice when a person is elected to the presidency. They sacrifice their personal life to the office. And in such a way, they take on the charisma and the power of the office, not their personality that they bring to the office. So it's a kind of like an alchemical mix or combination of personality and office in the presidency. I mean, you're still a person, but at the same time, you're not a person, you're the president. And this president, as a surrender or a sacrifice, there is a sacrifice of the personality to the presidency in order for the presidency to be a power center of charisma and power for the country. So there is really a physical or a willing sacrifice to the center, which is basically the same sacrifice Christ made. So when he sacrificed himself, so when he went to this center, he willingly sacrificed his personality or his ego to occupy the office of the Christ, you see. And so that gave the office of the Christ tremendous power, you see, because of that sacrifice of the personal Jesus, you see. So when Trump does not sacrifice his personal interests for the office of the presidency, he is just a person sitting in the Oval Office. And he does not have the charisma and the power of somebody who has sacrificed themselves to the office for the better of the country, you see. So he still maintains his personal interests, his business. He's still operating the presidency. He goes on his vacation to Mar-a-Lago. So he's still Mr. Trump. He has not become the president. And this is dangerous because when the time comes where the president has to speak for the nation as the president and his words are God Almighty, it's just going to be Mr. Trump speaking. And who are you? You're just another guy like me. You haven't made any sacrifice, you see. You're just another bloke like me. Why should I give up my life for you? You see. Why should I believe you? You're just another bloke. You haven't done anything. You haven't given up being a bloke to be the president. So that's what it means to be the center. But getting back to Bill O'Reilly. So I was interested in the fact, that people admired Bill O'Reilly because he was the center. You couldn't gore Bill O'Reilly. He was the Matador. And he would deflect with his cape any attacks and just brush them aside. Swoosh, swoosh, you see. It was a magnificent show. But it was a show? Was it a performance? See, Alex Jones is under question right now because he's another power center of rage, you see. And now he's in trouble with his ex-wife, and the lawyer says, Alex Jones is just a performance. He's not really a bad guy. He's a nice guy. That's just a performance. Whoa, you don't want to go there. Because the whole performance is making you believe that you're real, you see. And the problem with this center, like Bill O'Reilly, and I'm just projecting here, or assuming, but that if your center is not real, and there has not been a true sacrifice of your personality to the center, and the big problem is doubt. You can't doubt your certainty. You can't doubt your projected authenticity. If there's any doubt there, people are going to see it as a weakness, and they're going to go. The bull will see it, and he will not go for the flag. He'll go for you. You see. So in order to keep the bulls going at the flag, this diversion, there cannot be a single thought that you are not number one, that you are not in the center, that you are not in the immovable spot. If you doubt that, one single thought will allow your opponent to gore you. So you maintain your center by eliminating any internal doubt or a single thought that you're not number one, you see. So how do you maintain that doubt? How do you maintain that belief in yourself? Well, this is difficult because when you after you leave your little show, your bull ring, and you go out into the world, now you're just another bloke, you see. So then when you go back to your performance in the bull ring, how do you maintain that certainty, you see? Well, you have to keep it shored up in your personality out in the world. And how do you do that? Well, one way that alpha males do is that they get women to submit to them. And if a woman submits to them, or they're in the power over women, then that affirms their certainty that they're number one. So they need to constantly find little ways to keep asserting their power and their conviction that they're number one, to keep away the doubt that they're not number one, you see, that they're just another bloke like everybody else, you see. So this, I think, this is my personal view, I think this is the downfall of people like Bill O'Reilly, who, in order to maintain their conviction that they are number one, there's no second to Bill O'Reilly, no second, they have to constantly be finding ways to recharge their battery, to recharge their conviction that they're number one, you see. And the way people do that is by dominating other people, and particularly women, you know. So, and that domination then creates backlash, and people come out of the closet and describe the ways he intimidated them in the office or at work or whatever. And so these begin to accumulate until finally the king is toppled and the king is dead, you see. And we can see this over and over in many ways, in many situations. But so anyway, and Mr. Trump is doing the same thing because he has built his whole career on being the tallest building in town, the tallest #1 tower, Trump Tower in town, you see. So he spends all of his effort in maintaining the certainty that he is #1. And he convinced everybody that he was certainly the #1. And that he, as the #1, see, when you are the hub of the wheel, then you integrate the wheel around you. So that's what he means when he says, I can fix the nation. So the nation is fragmented, it's all around, blah, 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 running around, all these Democrats fragmenting everything, all these special interests running around. I will restore center, and everything will integrate around me like iron filings around a magnet. You've got a bunch of iron filings on a piece of paper, stick a magnet under it, and all those filings go, they all integrate on that power. So that's what he's talking about. I'll be #1, you see. But is it a performance or is it real? And so this is the question going back and forth now. Is Trump a performance or is he really #1? You see. Is he really the one, like in the Matrix? Is he really the Savior who is returned, or is it just a performance? So that is the story that we are watching, and I'll see you in the morning.